Hello and welcome to the Discover Virginia Beach podcast. I'm your host, Joseph Trahan, your tour guide to the Virginia Beach area. If this is your first time listening, I am so glad you found this show. Each week, I publish a new interview with locals ranging from musicians, government officials, CEOs, artists, and much more. And my aim is simple. It's to help you discover, define, and then go out and do exactly what you're looking for during your next vacation, relocation, or outing to the Virginia Beach area. And if you're looking to join in on the conversation, take part in monthly giveaways, and get your hands on my custom event calendars, head on over to Facebook and send me a friend request. That's Joseph Trahan. And check out my Facebook group of nearly 50,000 fans of the Virginia Beach area. Don't worry about writing anything down. The links for each episode, along with the Facebook groups, will be in the description below and also in the show notes. All right, here's the show. Today, we have a very exciting episode welcoming in Richard Stradling, the dedicated charter fisher captain from Still Waters Fishing LLC. Captain Richard, who served as a Navy diver for 24 years, now brings his love for fishing to the Virginia Beach community with custom tours, tips, and a whole lot of fun that will help you enjoy the wonderful waterways of Virginia Beach. Welcome to the show, Rich.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, we're super excited. Would you mind getting started with what brought you to the Virginia Beach area and what inspired you to build your life and your business here?
So my first duty station was in Norfolk in 2000, and I did not move away till 2010, at which point I did not plan on coming back to the Virginia Beach area. But as the Navy has it, I came back and my wife's career took off and my children were doing really good in school. And I was the only one with a life change happening. So we were blessed to find a house that we were very, very happy with, mostly the wife happy with, and everybody else could live a very comfortable lifestyle. So we decided to stay. And pretty much the entire time, I've always been in the Chicks Beach area. And just from day one, fell in love with the place. I'm from Indiana, so when I'm standing outside at a friend's house in shorts and a t-shirt in January and it's 52 degrees, I was like, I can deal with this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Especially too, for our listeners who may not be familiar, Chicks Beach, Chesapeake Beach, East Beach, it's all right there. A beautiful conglomerate of one of the highlighted beaches here in Virginia Beach. It's a great place, right? Get a little bit of brackish water, get to Calm Bay. Very, very envious of where you're at, Rich. Very great location.
Yes. Love it.
Yeah. So I understand you were in the Navy, and we, of course, appreciate that. And, would love to hear from you. If you have anything to share, how was your experience overall in the Navy? I understand like you started there and then you left 2010. You were like, hey, I'm out of here. How did your time in the Navy, how did it shape your view of the community overall here in the Virginia Beach and Norfolk area?
So being in the military, obviously you get to go see, the entire globe, the best and the worst that, the globe has to offer, both in culture, people, and location. So it's not that I didn't really like Virginia Beach or Norfolk, but the lifestyle is definitely different from where I grew up. And both of our families are back in Indiana. So obviously, that's a super strong pull. But, when you get in a place in life and you kind of see where life's kind of leading you, and you take a little stock of what you got, and you're like, what, it's not bad. There's plenty going on here. I love the weather here. Especially being a guy that likes to fish a lot. You can fish in Virginia Beach all year round. We don't really get the snowstorms. Maybe once every 5 years, we get about 5 inches of snow.
Those anomalies are so weird.
And unlike the Midwest, it doesn't matter how much snow you get. You still get to go to school. You still get to go to work. They're not canceling anything. Whereas here, if they talk about snow, like, we're going to shut it down.
Yeah. Any mention of snow, it's like, what the teacher's like, nope, we're good. We're going to stay at home. We'll do, telescore or whatever.
Business.
Close for business. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Rich, I am really encouraged by that perspective, and it definitely is kind of, in a lot of ways, the pillar of your business of just, taking life as it comes and just being content with what you have, and then of course being a nature man yourself. You can't really choose the weather or choose, what gets caught on your lure. It's kind of what happens. When it comes to that general premise and that pillar throughout your life, I would love to hear maybe a little bit about the origin of how the business got started once you transition out of the Navy and into, what we typically hear here is civilian life.
Right. Yeah. So just before COVID, the house that we purchased is on a lake here in the Chicks Beach area. And so, I had a boat and I was always going fishing. And the first business that I had was making custom fishing lures. And I took 2 weeks off. This was probably like 4 or 5 years ago. That's what I did for 2 weeks, 8 to 10 hours a day. I just made fishing lures. And at the end of that 2 weeks, I was like, you know what I've just learned? I don't want to make fishing lures for a living. So, it just kind of evolves, and being on the water a lot, I was always taking somebody fishing, either a friend or one of my coworkers, one of my wife's coworkers, people that would visit that like to fish also. I would just take them out, and being on the water that much, I got to see people with no experience, very little experience. And if we all have areas that we struggle in. I cannot stand, like, it grinds my soul to watch somebody struggle with something that is so simple to me.
Sure.
And that's kind of where, like, the business side, I was already taking people fishing anyways. And like, there's nobody doing a freshwater charter in Virginia Beach. It's a saltwater town. You got the bay, you got the ocean, you got the brackish water, like you said. And then you go a little bit farther south and it's still saltwater, bigger boats. So I was like, well, what is the process? How would a guy go about doing it? And I just started pulling the thread. And like a year later, I'm going through a captain's course hosted right here in Virginia Beach at TCC, get the captain's license, get the insurance. And the next thing you know, I've got a year before I'm processed out of the military. And I do have the business, got all the certifications and everything else, but I didn't have the time to really dedicate towards, website, Instagram, Facebook, all those social networking pieces that you got to have today to really get your name out there. And Virginia Beach is already an established tourist location. Right. So there's a lot of businesses, they've been doing it for, 10, 15, 20, 50 years. So they've already got the draw. People already know about it. So trying as a one-man show, so to speak, to raise your hand like, oh, look over here, look over here. When people are coming to visit Virginia Beach, they're not thinking freshwater fishing, right? They're thinking about the beach and the ocean front and all of the other amenities that the area has to offer. So, this is year one of, full-time effort and engagement, and it just continues to grow from there.
Yeah, well, Rich, I really appreciate you highlighting that. And of course, not many people know, like, there is fresh water here, with the river and parts of the bay. It's amazing. It's great. We always love going through Lincoln Bay. That's always a great time. I don't know if that's fresh water. Is it? I think it's brackish.
So if it's connected to the saltwater community, I don't know much about it.
Okay, it flows from the bay, so it's probably brackish. But back to the original point here. You started a unique service that, not many people have, which is why we wanted to have you on the show. We've had a few people that do, kayak tours and boat tours and stuff, because Virginia Beach is predominantly tourism. Would you mind, Rich, walking us through a day through the lens of what a customer might expect when they come to your shop or come to your boat? And then, of course, any information from where you're located and, of course, how people go set up that experience.
Right. So once I get contacted by a customer, and I do my best to try to funnel a lot of the questions through a questionnaire from my website when you want to schedule a trip. But I think the key for any engagement with a customer is communication. So, the webpage has information on it, but I always reach out and contact them like, hey, here's the deal. It's 5 hours. Where do you want to go? How do you want your day to look? Really kind of canvassing them. Like, what do you picture your day being on the water? Because 90% of my customers, they don't know anything about fishing, or they don't have that much experience. So it's a lot of education piece. So really just making sure that they have a good time. And if they're not from here and they are visiting, the military is very good at building in investigative questions. Where are you from? What do you do? You're married? Do you have kids? So on and so forth. Really engaging with the customer. I find that to be probably the heart and soul of, still being in business a year later, to be honest with you.
Yeah, of course.
Because if you gamble and you put all your eggs in the basket of whether the fish are doing what you want them to do that day or not, you're probably going to be disappointed more times than not. So you might as well engage with, and I really do have an opportunity to meet some really awesome personalities, and I grow as a person, and I hope I help them grow as well. So if I have to track it back to anything, it's really just communicating like, hey, we're going to make this day whatever you want it to be, and we're going to have a good time either way.
That's awesome. And that's definitely something true, with part of the vibe here in Virginia Beach is just make it your day. There's so much going on, on land and on the water that people can go and explore. It's incredible. Rich, would you mind sharing with us maybe a few highlight experiences that you've had with guests out of the water, whether that's any, shark sightings or anybody falling off the boat, and any stories stand out to you as far as memories go?
Yeah. Well, there's only one person that's ever fallen off my boat, and that was me. I took one of my wife's coworkers fishing, and this is a smaller boat than what I have now. And we were just fun fishing. It's during COVID, so people needed to get out. And
right.
So, we're out there, and I bent over to pick up a rod the same time he was on the other side of the boat, and then walked over to my side, and I could already feel the weight shift. And I started laughing before I even fell in the water. But then I was laughing so hard, I couldn't get back in the boat. And he asked me, he's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm fine." And he's like, "Has that ever happened?" And I was like, No, it's never happened before. And then he was like, "Did I do that?" I said, "Well, it's never happened before. So yeah, we're fine." So probably every client is different. And I've literally had everybody from 5 years old to 85 years old on my boat. I will say, a grandfather chartered my boat for his granddaughter's 5th birthday. She said she wanted to go fishing, and I took her out there as her and her father. And I just looked at Dad and I was like, no matter what we do today, we're just going to have a good time. Because at 5 years old, their attention span, especially in this sport that takes so much patience, it's not going to last. So we fished for about 5 minutes, and then I was like, "Do you want to drive the boat?" So the Norfolk waterways have the freshwater part, anyways, have a 9.9 motor restriction, which is really nice when you don't want to get anywhere fast. So safety, obviously, very much mitigated. You're not in a hurry anyway, so you also don't have to worry about bigger boats going fast, a lot of wakes, big waves, or anything else like that. So fishing in the freshwater waterways of Norfolk controlled waters is also pleasurable in that sense. So she's out there driving the boat, and I just sit behind her, and her dad's taking a lot of pictures and whatnot. And the day goes on, and I could tell she was getting bored. So I opened up one of my plastics boxes, and it's just a bunch of worms and creature baits and stuff like that, no hooks or anything. And she opens it up, and for 2.5 hours, she sat there and played what you would call Barbie doll or play or whatever. People were taking showers and people were getting muddy and just dancing off the deck. And her dad kept trying to get on her about making a mess. I was like, "Hey, whoa, she's providing her own entertainment right now. We're winning."
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Wow. So overall, it's a great trip. I think he caught one fish, but she had a blast and enjoyed herself. So when he was getting off the boat, I was like, "We won today, bud."
Yeah, that is an incredible story. We really appreciate you sharing that because, 5-year-olds are very unpredictable and in a lot of ways, for sure.
Yeah.
So, Rich, you've been at this, you said full-time for a year, correct?
Yes.
I'd imagine you've had quite a few charters to kind of maybe have some trial and errors for figuring things out, what to bring, what not to bring, and of course, how to educate and inform, best inform, people that have various skills of being on the water. Would you mind walking us through maybe some of the adaptations that you've had since the inception of your business, and then maybe a few key moments of growth or learning that have helped shaped the fishing and boating experience that you have offering today.
Okay, yeah. So when I first started out, obviously not a guide and not taking people fishing that I don't know at all. The history of me fishing with somebody else is me standing on the front of the boat, me fishing, figuring out what the fish are doing, and then going back and giving them something to fish with that they can catch fish with also. Yeah. So I struggled right out of the gate. I was just giving clients rods with the best lure that I thought they were going to be able to catch fish, and taking them to a good spot and kind of trial and error from there. But when I try to teach clients when you set the hook or how to make the cast and this, like they just weren't there. And in these waterways, the fish relate to a very specific structure. We don't have grass. The only vegetation we have in the water around here is lily pads. So a lot of, lay downs, stumps, trees, stuff like that is what they relate to. So you have to be semi-accurate with your cast. So over the summer, what I started doing was I would let them kind of get familiar with the equipment, and then I would ask them for the rod, and I would make a cast in the area. I would fish for a little bit, and that kind of transitioned from me making a cast, showing them where it needs to go and how it needs to be fished, and then giving them the rod back to now I stand on the front of the boat and I make a cast, and I really try to spend an amount of time that doesn't encroach on their experience to catch the first fish, hand them the rod. Because at the end of the day, they've paid their money, they've taken the time out of their schedule. I want them to feel the fight of a fish. So if that means that I have to do it, like, I will. And that's like a fine line to walk, right? Like, you don't want to encroach on their fishing experience, because then your Google review will be, oh yeah, he's a great fisherman, but he never gave me the rod.
He just caught all the fish, and then we left with all this fish. We didn't catch anything.
Yeah. So trying to walk that balance of, letting them enjoy it, showing them how to do it. To be honest with you, like I said before, a lot of my clients, they don't know a lot about making a cast accurately or anything like that. So a lot of education. I don't think I've ever had a client that comes off of my boat that is not, they went from zero to hero as far as, if you do put a lure in a bush, in a tree, in a limb, 30 feet up or 3 inches off the water, there's no emergencies on my boat.
Yeah. No one's going to fall into the water or anything.
Yeah. Like, if it breaks off, I know a guy, he'll make me another one. We're going to backtrack a little bit. The lure is going to fall in the water, and we're fishing again. And that's we're winning. And anybody that can hold the rod and make the cast on their own, like 5-year-olds, they can't really whip a 7-foot rod around very easily.
Sure.
When they come on my boat, we're starting at ground zero. And when they come off my boat, they have 5 hours of education of pulling it out of limbs and everything else. That is 75% of the battle when it comes to freshwater fishing around trees and bushes and whatnot. So if they can do that, catching the fish is just a matter of time.
Wow. Yeah. There's so much that goes into that. I mean, I'm sure you kind of appreciate you sharing that, going through that process of a full year of, just what to expect, how to anticipate the needs of your guests. It sounds very versatile. So is there a certain age range that you focus in, or is just kind of any age, any particular person, is it a certain number of people that can fit on the boat?
So max capacity for me is two. And that's just due to the weight limit of what the boat can carry.
Gotcha. What's your boat, if you don't mind me asking? What are the specs of your boat?
It's 175, so it's about 18 foot long.
Okay, so 18 foot. And what typically do you catch when you go out, aside from trees and bushes? Are there a common type of fish or wildlife that you catch underneath the waters that that typically pop up more often than not?
I primarily target bass, but fishing's fishing. We've caught really nice crappie, bluegill. I've yet to catch a catfish with a client on the boat, but there's plenty of good catfish around. That happens plenty of times. And they're never, you can catch some small ones, but I've caught up to a 25-pound catfish and turned right back around and caught a 10-pounder with the very next cast. That's not that exciting for me because it's not the species I'm looking for.
Sure.
And they're going to take you for a ride for about 10 or 15 minutes when you have a bass rod in your hand.
Oh yeah. I can imagine, catfish are just they're probably the meanest fish in my opinion. From
Oh,
what I know,
yeah.
very limited of watching Finding Nemo and fish movies. Catfish just seem very, very unfriendly, and I've heard not taste very well. Is that true?
I
I know
have
the
no
bass
idea
is the
because I
prime.
don't eat them.
Okay, yeah, that
Yeah.
exactly. They don't taste good. If Rich isn't
And
eating
so,
it,
and
don't
that's
eat it.
I get a lot of clients that ask, "Hey, can we keep the fish and eat the fish?" And I just give them the disclaimer, like the freshwater waterways here are flood control lakes. There's not much flow, and they're surrounded by houses, so you don't know what people are putting in their yards.
Sure.
And I do not suggest eating it. Now, I haven't taken a biological survey or anything else like that. It just keep it safe, stick with the saltwater stuff. That's what you came to Virginia Beach for, not the bass or the panfish that you can catch anywhere.
Yeah, that's a great disclaimer as well. Considering just how close you are to people, and what people are throwaway, on trash day. Just just be safe. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Rich, last question for you on the business side. I'd love to know, when it comes to, the goals and aspirations for Stillwater Fishing, are there any upcoming projects or expansions that are in the works or that you're thinking about that folks might be able to looking forward to, on your website or on social media?
Really, the next goal for me is just awareness and just to keep beating that drum and to become, like, for me, like, it would be awesome if I was a staple of the tourist environment. Like if I start to see bookings that hit the 100 mark, the 150 mark, or 200 bookings a year during the season, like that's really the goal. I would be overjoyed if somebody said, "I'm going on vacation to Virginia Beach." Somebody else say, "Have you heard of Still Waters Fishing? Do you know about, this guy doing it down there?" And hopefully, I mean, business is all about hiring another person to help change their life, right? To grow the business, to make
Sure.
money, and help people grow in their own path. I mean, if there was 3 or 4 boat captains and we were busy, 3/4 of the year, or at least during the entire tourist season, I mean, that would just be, over the moon for me.
I love that. That's so exciting. So definitely room for growth, room for expansion. And when does the typical season for you right now, Rich? Where does that start and stop?
From sunrise to sunset every day.
Oh, gotcha. As far as
that's what I love about the
are
area.
you like do you omit the winter season, or you just boating all year round? I know some chartering services cut off during tourism season, so I just wanted to clarify that.
Right. Yeah. So when I first started the Instagram page, and I flirted a little bit with YouTube, and I'm working on that realm as well. My message from the very beginning has been, come to Virginia Beach when it's cold, especially if you like bass fishing, because November hits, all the hunters go to the woods. People put their rods and reels away because it's cold. It's football season, holidays, this, that, whatever. I literally have the water to myself from December to March when it hits 65, 70 degrees again. And
Right.
That's when the fishing is the best. And like, I just keep trying to say it. Not that anybody's looking at my website on deciding on if they're going to take vacation to Virginia Beach at a certain time of year. But if they do, and they find out that, hey, the kids can go right down to the Norfolk Premium Outlets while, dad and brother or sister disappear on the boat for 5 hours and catch awesome fish on a day that you would not think, or that they're not biting, they are.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Rich, I really appreciate you sharing that because, a lot of folks here don't quite, especially our tourists, don't quite understand the value at a lot of times when it comes to the winter season, because a lot of beach towns kind of stop. They kind of die out during the winter season. But in my catchphrase here, we discover Virginia Beach. Virginia Beach starts its second life. It kind of has a new sense of a discovery and adventure that are quite frankly, you don't get during the summer and, typical tourism season. So that's great. Right. You offer that. Super exciting. And, Rich, obviously this podcast is all about community and bringing people together for those experiences. Would you mind sharing possibly a story or ways in which you kind of built your business around the community, particularly in how the community has influenced the way you live, work, and play here in the Virginia Beach area?
So now that I have a little bit of time where I can actually go and mingle, and when we moved into this house, I told my wife, like, I'm going to die in this house because I love the Chicks Beach area. I love the weather. You know, now you add in a business that is after my own heart. So very happy. I've had the opportunity to kind of like mingle at these local businesses that I used to just stop by because I wasn't going to be here forever. I wasn't going to invest time. Now I've had time to invest, build relationships with some businesses around here. And while I don't have the size of the platform that would gain the interest of local businesses to like do a collaboration or something like that, it's year one, right? So I only have up to go, and the relationships that I am building, the time that I am spending with some of these local businesses, it's super exciting. Like every business in this little corner has a story. And especially right around the COVID area, some of these businesses have a great story. And I love the atmosphere, the business owners, the clientele. It's a lot of active duty military, ex-military, locals. I love hearing from the locals because they actually have the history of this area. So while I don't have a lot of experience to give you right now of, collaborative business efforts or anything like that, it's still in progress and it's still building. And I haven't had anybody kick me out yet.
Well, Rich, I would not say that you have not invested in the community at all. I definitely, even within the 1 year, I mean, we're connecting and I'm, connecting with other businesses as well on the podcast to help share these stories, especially in a world that is full of messages and stories online and offline. Right. So we really appreciate you sharing that and appreciate your involvement as well. I understand you also take a few other initiatives, when it comes to nonprofit organizations and serving the community. Would you mind sharing a little bit about how you stay active within giving for the community, and also the, I believe you had mentioned prior to this call, the nonprofit organizations you're a part of?
Right. Yeah. So there's a couple of Boy Scout troops that they do like a fundraiser every year, and they solicited me and I said, would you donate? So a lot of my not-for-profit work is just me donating my time, and that, so I have a ticket that I submit for their raffle. I do that with a couple local schools, and then obviously the Boy Scouts. So I get a call once or twice a year, like, "Hey, we won your ticket at the raffle." I'm like, "You let me know when you want to go," and we go out there. And so far, it's been a great experience.
Incredible, Rich. That's very generous of you, and that's why we have this community. That's why we love talking to folks like you that continue to give back in spite of, like you said, still working on the business, still trying to figure things out, still trying to adapt to people's needs, and yet you're giving out free boat rides, which is incredible, and supporting our local Boy Scouts. Thank you for that. Yeah. Rich, with that said, I know you got to get back to it, got to get back to fishing, got to get back to making some new lures, or hopefully just staying out of the water. We are going to transition to our rapid fire question section. These questions are quick and fast. You can answer with as much or as little detail as you would like. Are you ready?
I am ready.
All righty. First one. Early morning or sunset fishing boat rides?
Do them both, and I base them off of the moon phase.
Love it. Biggest catch you've ever had?
Client or myself?
Yourself.
8.8 pounds.
Was this a bass?
Oh, yes.
Love it.
I only classify bass.
So only real fish to catch, fresh.
Right, yeah.
Favorite spot in Virginia Beach, just for general relaxation?
Ooh, God, my boat on the water. Pick a lake.
Love it. Now, what is your most memorable moment on the water? We can do just with still water fishing, or we could kind of peel it back to your time in the Navy, or growing up in Indiana as well. Favorite memory on the water?
It was one of my first couple of clients on my first boat, which was much smaller. A gentleman and his 9-year-old son. They said that they wanted to go pan fishing, so I rigged my rods up with bobbers and worms. And the 9-year-old gets on the boat, looks me dead in the eye, and says, "I want to catch a bass." I was like, "Well, that's perfect," because I have 0 rods rigged up for bass fishing. So we went and did some bobber dunking for a couple hours and did not catch a bluegill, not a crappie, nothing, not a bite, nada. I was like, okay, well, we're going to switch. So this is about 9:45 on a Saturday morning, and we pulled up to a spot, and I tied him on a rig, and I was like, this is how you skip the lure into the bushes and stuff like that. Very athletic child, very, very coachable. And he started getting it down. And I was going to go back and I was going to change Dad's rig. So I nosed the boat up to a spot that's got a lay down in a bush and a little flat spot. And it's pre-spawn time frame. And we're right outside of an apartment complex. And I go back, I cut his dad's line, and I think I got one. And I look up to the front of the boat, and his rod's bent over, and he's fighting it. I'm like, oh, cool. And I put the hook and the weight down. I was like, I'll be right back. I go to the front of the boat, and I grab the net, and a fish comes out of the water, and its mouth is like that big around.
Whoa.
And the kid starts yelling, it's huge, it's huge. I'm like, it is huge, oh my gosh. So I net the fish, we get inside, the kid is yelling at the top of his lungs, I'm yelling at the top of my lungs. And this was really the hook set where I was like, I think I nailed what it is that I'm supposed to be doing with my life, because the excitement on his face, I was excited for him. This kid's first bass weighed 5.5 pounds.
Wow.
And I told him, I was like, this is not an everyday bass, my friend. So enjoy.
He told you, he said, I'm ready to catch a bass.
Yeah. He wasn't lying either. He did it all on his own. So and that was the first experience I had where I really enjoyed more watching somebody else catch a fish than me catching a fish. And that was the hook set. And then from there, it wasn't kind of like, am I in the right space? Am I doing the right thing? That was the Father letting me know, like, keep pucking away. You'll be all right.
Absolutely. Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible, Rich. Love it. Thank you for sharing that. What's a common tip or phrase that you say out on the water for possibly amateur, fishermen getting started and might be getting a little frustrated? What do you typically tell them?
Yeah. So going back to always getting the lure out of the limbs and everything else, probably the number one line that I've said not only to my clients, but I remind myself on a consistent basis. You'll hear it across like any of the motivational speakers. That's probably where I got it from, but it really does apply in bass fishing. Stare at where you want the lure to go. Let your body do the work. If you stare at where you don't want it to go, guess what you're going to do? It's going to go right there. And as you would think, a guy that's been doing it as long as I've been doing it, still mess it up. I'll look at a structure and I'll be like, okay, I don't want it to go there. And I don't pause. I don't refocus. Okay, this is where it has to go. I stare at where I don't want it to go, and it goes right there. And I'm like, well, I mean, how many times do I have to tell myself?
What a great piece of life advice, and also fishing advice. I'm sure lots of analogies for fishing translate well into life, but that's a good one. Focus on where you want it to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Tony Robbins got a famous quote: "You look where you want the car to go. Don't look at the wall."
Absolutely.
It applies across the spectrum.
Love it. All right, Rich, last one for you. Dream fishing destination. You could go fishing anywhere in the world, boat, land, from the side of a cruise ship. Where would you go fishing?
God, this is going to sound so cliche. It's so bad for several reasons. I really don't think you can beat these waters. And for a couple reasons.
Okay. Really. Yeah. Let's hear it.
So one, they are shallow. Like the deepest spot in a middle hole somewhere is maybe 8 feet, but for the most part, we're talking 4 feet and shallower. So if you fall in, stand up. Right. One, you don't have big boat traffic. So I can go out on a lake and I'm never going to have to worry about taking 2-foot rollers from a wake boat or a ski boat or a big rig or anything else like that. You can fish all year round. You're probably versatility wise in the bass fishing world. Maybe there's some areas that you're missing, but you're only an hour away from going and hitting deep water. You can go out to Suffolk. They got deep water. You can hit up some fishing out there too. But I really didn't realize how good I had it until this summer when I went out to like Northwest River and they got some big rigs out there. And I had to like brace for impact. I felt like I was back in the Navy. Like here comes some 2-foot rollers, and hope that there's not a stump underneath my boat that I haven't found yet before I punch a hole in the bottom. So there are bigger and better fish and maybe some more beautiful places, but the state of Virginia has a lot to offer if you're looking for the picturesque, beautiful backdrop fishing. It's in the state of Virginia. And if you come to Virginia Beach, like, it's tough to beat. I have fished. I've fished Table Rock. I go and I walk the Susquehanna River every year. I've been to Lake Cumberland, Kentucky Lake. I've been to some awesome places, and I'm not upset here at all.
I love it, Rich. That's my answer to everything. Virginia Beach area. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Just come here. Yes.
And I used to tell a lot of my junior sailors when they were first stationed here, I was like, hey, here's what you need to know about the Virginia Beach area. You got Washington, D.C., 3 hours north. You got Duck and Crova, 3 hours south. Do you want the mountains? It's an hour and 45 minutes west. Yep. Outside of that, you got the beach and the bay right here. Take your pick.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it, Rich. This has been a great conversation. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah. We'd love to roll out the red carpet for you. This is your time to share any final words or messages or anything you want to leave our audience with the disclaimer to our listeners that everything that Rich has going on will be in the link in the description below, that we can check out all of his great YouTube videos, for his live fishing videos, to his Instagram post, and of course his website where you can go and schedule your charter. With that said, Rich, back to you. The floor is all yours.
I would just say, if you hear the podcast, if you follow the channel, if you visit Virginia Beach, or if you've never been, come give it a spin. I mean, I was hooked early on, and there's lots to do here. There is lots to do. And you can find it in nature. You can find it in food. Oh, boy, there's some good food around here. Really, pretty much whatever your little flavor is, Virginia Beach has got enough on the spectrum that you're going to find a place that you'll like and that you'll enjoy. There's plenty, like we're familiar with making the comforts of home here in Virginia Beach. There's Airbnbs, there's small hotels, there's big hotels, there's condos. Come on down. Let's do this.
Love it. Love it. Rich, that is an incredible send-off. I will just end it there. That is fantastic. Once again, definitely go check out Rich and everything he's doing with Still Waters Fishing LLC down in the description below. And we'll catch you all in another episode.